Hello, my name is Alon Pillay. I am a student at the University of Denver, studying marketing and minoring in management. And the South by Southwest experience that I'd like to talk to you about today was not a session, but it was a private event that I was invited to. And it was a showcase of some of the pet projects from software developers at Accenture. And the person that invited me was Asher Vitek, and he's a software developer at Accenture. Um, and he was working on a project with Disney, actually, with their think tank called Studio Labs, where they basically get members of the C-suite together and brainstorm moonshot ideas for new and exciting stories and technologies and and it was just really interesting to hear that they had that. Um, but Yeah, he showed me. I mean, I saw a lot while I was there. There were three sort of main areas of the exhibit. One being Asher's project, another being a Mission Zero project, which was a VR meeting space and learning platform for ESG principles, which I thought was pretty cool and very applicable to what I'm learning because I'm in a class about ESG right now. Um, if you don't know what that stands for, that's environmental social governance. Um, but I'll talk about Asher's project first. So he was working on two different things. One was a application that would allow Disney to uh, take a physical object like this protein shake, and then somebody could take pictures with their iPhone, just a bunch of random pictures of it. Doesn't need to be high quality or anything. Just quickly snapshot a couple pictures and feed it into this program. And it would stitch the pictures together and create a high fidelity 3D model of it. So you wouldn't have to, use like a 3D scanner or use any sort of fancy hardware. You'd need the software, but uh, then it would be able to be transferable to an animated movie or a digital experience of some kind. And then as a demonstration of that software, what they did was they replicated Walt Disney's office, which is a pretty exclusive space to get into. Only a couple hundred people a year get to go in there. And that's what he told me, at least. And the idea of creating this Walt Disney experience is to give everybody a little piece of history that you might not have access to. And this really sparked a conversation about the future of museums and preserving history, because for example, you go into a museum, and especially if it's objects that are extremely rare or extremely important or extremely old, you can't even get near them. You can't take photographs. Um, and a lot of this is due to the fact that taking photographs can actually degrade, especially with flash photography. It can actually degrade paper and the ink on the paper. And so that's not just to save money, but that's for people sending off photographs of their friends instead of not going to the museum. There are actual good reasons for that. But with VR and being able to take a camera in there and just scan everything and not taint any of the the museum, but create a really high fidelity 3D model of everything in there and then transpose it into virtual reality. We can give a tremendous amount of accessibility to these things, and allow people to look really up close at certain treasures and artifacts, um, and just essentially infinitely preserve history. Because in 1,000 years and 200 years, even these things sitting in temperature controlled rooms are gonna um, you know start to fall apart. It's just the way of the world. So um, that was a really excellent conversation that we had. Another exhibit that I saw that wasn't with Asher was this augmented reality presentation platform. So they were basically creating an augmented reality PowerPoint, um, which would be able to be, gesture controlled with your hand through just like a Mac camera. And, you know, the demonstration worked well, but in my mind, it's not really consumer ready. There are definitely a couple people using it, and he was talking about a couple of the use cases, and a professor at a university that has it that really loves using it, and the students are very engaged with it. And I can see that being the case because it's just cool technology, uh new and cool technology, but it has a long way to go. But that was really interesting because we had sort of talked about it from a consumer goods standpoint, and how businesses could use it to demonstrate and allow people to interact with their product in 3D space with that technology as well. And that was something that he said they were working on as well. So it was good to sort of have that conversation and know that I was on the right track myself with kind of their thinking. And we actually got talking, and part of the main selling point for this augmented reality platform is that there's no need for any attachments or extra cameras or anything. But um you know the problem with that is a Mac camera, since it's only one camera, can only detect X and Y, right? So moving your hand up and down, right? But it can't really detect depth very well. um and so to and you really need depth to be like ultimately immersive, and that would either take a LiDAR camera or two sets of cameras um, that are measuring depth that way, like just like our eyes. um, and so I had suggested that right now, um, I know the idea is to do this with just a Macintosh, no peripherals, but it might be reasonable to sell a little attachment that attaches to the side of the Mac. It could just be like a little tiny camera like this that you clip onto the side. That's not that big of a deal in my mind, for the amount of functionality and engagement that you get with this software. I told him I thought it would be worth it, especially if it could give them a good depth, and it could allow people to like grab the presentation slide and throw it up there. A lot of cool new things. So he said he'd think about it, which was cool. So that was a really good conversation. Then I also got stuck troubleshooting the ESG app because it kept crashing. And so the dev team I was wearing the headset and they kept yelling around. They're like, what's the error? What's the error? And so, I sort of started helping with that. And eventually I was just like, this isn't working. So I left. But it was really interesting to see, how all the developers were interacting with each other. And it was a little, they were a little bit upset because they were trying to show off their product, and it was not working because they had just pushed an update and there were some issues with it. So, but I'm sure they got it working after I left. So yeah, that was my experience with that. And I mean, this is really applicable to, all sorts of businesses because, especially for Disney, their, 3D model software will save a lot of time and a lot of money for, animated movie production. And maybe even 3D printing. We'll see where this goes, but uh, that's going to save a lot of money, and also changing the preservation of history, um, which is going to be sort of like a new. There's going to have to be a new marketing model for that to get people on board with that. And then with the presentations and showing off consumer goods in a very uh, ergonomic and uh, engaging way, it could be a nice shift in new marketing technology. I mean, that's essentially what it would be, is new marketing technology. So I could see like billboards on the side of a building or something, and a little line where it says like stand here, and you can go like this and like open up the product, or like move it around and stuff. So I can totally see that. So it's exciting stuff.